Let's get into it. I am Mal Foster, and you are listening to the latest episode of Dimed Out. And together, collectively, as a unit, we are making history. Well, dimed out history, not like world history. We're not doing anything that's so significant it's going to alter the shape of the current world as we know it, unfortunately. But it is episodic history. For the first time in the show's short-lived history, we are having not one but two guests on at the same time, and those two guests also happen to be the first married couple to appear on Dimed Out. In the first of two conversations, we're going to be talking to Pamela and Armando. Armando I've known for about 15, 16 years since university. Pamela I've only known for a few years, but both of them are ace, and they were just great for coming on to the show to talk about a whole number of things. Including what it's been like, primarily, this is where the episode starts, what it's been like living on an island during the whole corona outbreak, what it was like when the virus first hit the shores, what preventions were taken, and how it is that they got themselves to a state where they are now virus-free. At the time of recording, they had been without a single case for 60-something days, and I think now they're up to 90 plus. So yeah, it's a world that so many of us are just longing to kind of find ourselves in. So yeah, definitely an interesting entry point. A little bit of context, there is a little joke in there at some point about me needing to speak to an agent to sort of clarify for anybody that doesn't know. Armando is, I want to say the star. He's one of the people featured, at least. He's probably going to really dislike the fact I've just downgraded him from being the star to a featuring member of a TV show that was recorded and published, presented, televised on British TV, a show called The Best Little Prison in Britain, which looks at Jerby Prison on the Isle of Man, where he works, and was a star/featured in a TV sort of fly-on-the-wall docu-series. So yeah, that's what that's about. So yeah, after hearing this episode, if you want to go check out Manbear walking the cell blocks, doing his thing, then that's the show to check out. The Best Little Prison in Britain. Yeah, would recommend. Definitely worth a watch. But not just yet, because you've got this fantastic episode to check out and to stuff inside of your ear holes. In it, as I said, we're going to be talking about what it's been like living on the Isle of Man, virus-free. We're also going to be talking about the existence of Bigfoot, the brilliance of little spoons. That's right, little tablespoons. No, hang on, wait. No, tablespoons are the big ones. Teaspoons. That's your boy. Teaspoons. All the way. There is a life hack here, by the way, in this episode, that if you try it, will change everything. And on that note, this is the episode. Enjoy. First of all, I want to talk to you guys about what it's like to be virus-free. And this is something that I think a lot of people right now will be interested in hearing, because you've been virus-free on the Isle of Man for a little while now, right?
Yeah, so I think
true. I am. All my
Armando
STDs are gone.
Wow.
So I've been virus-free for years now. It's been difficult.
With what been difficult being virus-free?
Yeah. I'm so used to them. And discharges. And...
Oh, wow.
Oh, you mean COVID-19? Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was a bit personal.
Well,
I wanted to, straight out the gates, I wanted to show you I was happy to discuss anything.
Yeah,
well,
so
that's good.
Free, I think it's 62 days now. Sure. 62 days with no COVID at all, which has been great. We've Yeah, super blessed, really. I think we only had 360 cases in about an 85,000 population. Sadly, some deaths, but only 6. So yeah, it's been really good, to be honest. I think compared to what we're seeing across the UK, with and especially unfortunately for you guys in the US, obviously the protests are going on, the Black Lives Matter protests, which is super important. But you've got a lot of people congregating together, and then in the UK, when we've had the great weather, people flocking to the beaches and flocking to outside bars and things like that.
And Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Mother's Day was a big hit for COVID-19.
There was a big spike, Mother's Day.
People have really actually, I think, followed the rules for the most part here. So
we are in a very unique and lucky situation here where people took it seriously and adhered to the rules. Well, the majority did.
Yeah, the thing is here, if they didn't adhere to the rules, they got put in prison, like no questions asked. It was literally like some people will sit on remand for months, or they'll have to wait for sentencing. But here, if they got caught breaking the anti-lockdown social distancing rules, they got put in prison for 4 weeks. That was it. No questions asked. Sent straight to prison. So the deterrent was pretty. Yeah, it was pretty good. So we closed the borders really early on, so nobody could come in. Even residents who got trapped away because they were, stuck in Australia or something, couldn't come back.
Students, etc.
Yeah, students and everything. So people actually really seem to obey the law, which was quite
well, it was a deterrent, and it was real. It wasn't just suggested and people were
there was no lip service. It was no like on the spot fines or anything like that. It was literally you will go to prison. They were straight up in front and then they were in. So,
but I mean, it's proven to be effective. If you've been, would you say 62 days, then obviously you're going to get some like knobheads that dance around that and are just like, oh, whatever, it doesn't apply to me. But it seems like the vast majority have just been like, this is real.
There's a particular criminal at the moment who's on the run. The police have put an issue out for him. He keeps putting pictures on his Facebook page. He's never in them, but there are various locations in the UK where he says he's out partying, trying to throw them off the scent, but they fully believe he's actually still on the island.
It's probably in his back garden.
Yeah.
Is this like an ongoing manhunt for this guy?
Exactly. Yeah, it'd be for drugs or something.
There are a lot of manhunts on the Isle of Man. It's brilliant.
The Isle of Man hunt. Yeah.
It's ace. It's like they could make it a TV show. It would be awesome.
Are you pitching this, by the way? Is this you trying to pitch something to
well,
ITV?
I am already a celebrity, so I would be the natural choice.
This is true. You are like the Jason Statham of the Isle of Man, I guess.
That's what I am. A lot of people actually refer to me as that.
In fact, do I need to speak to an agent to get you to be on this?
I think the bigger thing is a lot of people refer to Jason Statham as the Armando Armillei of the rest of the world. I think that's
it's the other way around.
That's when it really took off. Yeah, which is understandable.
I think the funniest thing for me, because I've been working from home for about 17 weeks now, and with lockdown, working from home was fine. I was okay with it. And you go to the supermarket and you'd have to queue to get in. Sometimes it'd take well over an hour. Sometimes you get there and the queue be really little and you feel really happy that the queue was super little. And obviously you couldn't go and see anybody. You couldn't go to pubs or anything like that. And then all of a sudden you could go and see family, social distance. So we could call it deck chairing. We go and sit in a garden and deck chair for a bit.
I like that.
And that was really nice as well. But then I found I have a good friend at work. She asked my address and the card appeared in the post. So when I sent her a card, we talk every day, but I sent her a card back. And then when I wrote the card back to her, I said to her, I'm not going to tell you that I've received your card and you don't tell me when you've received my card. So we talk every day on the phone, but we write cards to each other every week.
Oh.
Neither of us has ever verbally acknowledged that we were sending each other cards during lockdown. And I found the whole FaceTime friends and family more than I've ever done before. So I thought the whole thing ultimately was quite obviously devastating the world, but the positives we could take from it really were bringing a real sense of family and community and a communication that I don't think we'd really had before. So now that lockdown's really lifted here, like I'm still working from home, so I'm still getting to keep that feeling of the nice things about lockdown.
Yeah.
but I don't want to go back to how it was before. I don't want to go back to, we've been to town a few times and it's just been so busy, and people, you feel this atmosphere of people want to spend money and they're glad that they can get back into it, but I don't really want to. I don't think to. I really quite like the quiet, slow pace of lockdown life, even though you don't like it falling a lockdown.
I think lockdown just sounds like an 80s TV show. Lockdown. Like a really awful crime show or something, like a police one. You're in lockdown, Sam. Just sounds awful. I've been practicing isolation for years because I don't like many people. So the world that you lot are getting now is just, you're just starting to see the benefits of my world.
I want to kind of go back to something you touched upon there, Pamela. I think that, obviously, as you mentioned, this has had a major impact for humanity as a whole, and for people as a whole. But I think that you were echoing a lot of sentiments that I have felt myself and that other people I've spoke to have sort of reflected, in the sense that it's been terrible on a grand scale, on a mass scale, but it's given people more scope for themselves in an insular fashion. Like, it's allowed them to kind of look at what they're doing with their life, what they want to do with their life, and the things that are important to their life that maybe they'd overlooked, like family and friends, and like really sort of addressing how they spend their time. And I think as well that it is genuinely very important that when we go back to, and I hate using the word normal because it's ridiculous in this situation, but when things kind of resemble more of the landscape they did prior to COVID, that we don't just revert back to not acknowledging these things and not caring about these things that we've kind of rediscovered during this time.
Absolutely. No,
I'd agree with that. Like, we
totally
start spending time with people, even if it was over FaceTime, you wouldn't have done before, for a long time. So it's been lovely in those terms, but I think I'm quizzed out for maybe the rest of my entire life.
No, that's the thing. So, like, we get to see you and Robin and Sean and Rachel every week, and that's amazing. But like Amanda says, we're probably quizzed out.
Can we use names? Is that legal?
Yeah, that's fine.
If not, we could have code names.
No,
I'm just we could do, or I could just edit
them out. Code names. Can I have Mr. X?
For who?
For me.
Oh, right.
I don't care about anyone else's. I care about mine.
Professor Plum.
Or Professor X.
Yeah, like, I've never done so many quizzes in my whole life. But the best part about that was actually because you do a quiz with somebody that you'd have to answer, but then you'd be like, can you send me your quiz? And then you do that on other people. And then people would be like, this quiz was brilliant. You go, thanks very much.
Right.
But no, I would always pass the credit on to other people. But I think I don't want to lose that thing of that connection. Like, things like Zoom, everybody knows how successful they've been. House Party, that's been so much fun. Like, that connection that you got. Like, how long have you, Armando and Sean, been best mates? But now, like, how long have we all been friends?
I thought I'd escaped them.
Before COVID, we didn't really talk that regularly at all, really.
No.
And, like, we didn't know Robin very well, but now, like, I love Robin. Like, I'm so excited to see Robin every week. And sometimes I'm a bit like, oh, I miss Robin today. I miss, like, hearing what she's got to say and missing hearing her accent and things like that. So, you make those connections, but they're real. Yeah, we're not face to face, but because the world's given us this technology as well that we can use. Like, can you imagine going through this like 100 years ago? It'd have been horrendous, wouldn't it? So, I think despite all of the horrible things, and I'm not like downplaying any of that at all, there's got to be some good things that come out of this. And I think that everybody reconnecting and taking things back, you just kind of hope that we don't get back into the drudgery of going to work, going in the office every day, buying your sandwich at lunchtime, the whole the clone feel of the office worker, 9 to 5, that kind of thing.
That's why I hate referring to it as normal, because it did kind of become normal. It became a sort of an established paint by numbers existence for most people, and it has its pros. It's got the structure there that keeps people sane, and it can build from onto different things. But I feel like there's much more to life than just following those set patterns, and I think that it's taken something terrible like this to actually realize that for most of us.
Yeah, I had lunch with one of the girls in my team today, like a one-to-one meeting with her. Like I said, we're still working from home. So even though we're COVID-free here 60 plus days, the company I work for, they've chosen not to send us back. We're following UK rules, which are a lot more stringent. The department that I work in, it's working really well, working remotely. So ultimately, my office needs a 10 million refurb. But they're like, a bit like, if you can all work from home, then why do you need to go back to the office? It's working as it is. Well, that suits me. Like I can make that work. Whereas like people in my team, they just don't want to. So the girl I went to meet today for lunch, we were talking about the potential of never going back to the office and the struggle she had. And she's only a young girl, but she was talking about how she finds it difficult to get up and get motivated. So getting up and logging in early for work, etc. And she'll do her work, but then she's like, but if the weather's bad and I don't have any plans, I won't leave the house for days. It's really very sad, because part of me was a bit like, but we've got this amazing opportunity right now. Like, I don't stringently make them work 9 to 5. I say, if you wake up at 7 o'clock, you get out of bed in your pajamas, you make a cup of tea, you log on for 7:30. I don't mind if you do 5 hours, log off, spend the afternoon, do whatever you want, and log back on again. So there's this whole opportunities in front of people. But she was just like, what else would I have to do? So if I can go back to the office, I can get up in the morning, I can have a shower, I can drive into work, I can spend money on petrol, I can spend money on parking, I can work in the office, I can spend money on lunch, I can drive back, spend more money on fuel, get back home in the evening, cook my dinner, watch TV and go to bed. And I was like, you've got this amazing opportunity to work from home and do stuff.
The thing is, from working with inmates, a lot of people need routine.
Yeah,
and you get forced on them. And we might force it on them through the routine of us just down in prison. But some people need it forcing on them through the routine of work.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But it just made me so sad that this young woman was like, what else am I going to do? And I'm like, oh my goodness, all the hobbies you could take up.
But also, she's young.
Fitness. Yeah, that's true.
You're a bit older than her, a bit more mature, and a bit more worldly,
I suppose.
That's a good point, because I do think that, not to downplay young people at all, but I do think that with having life experience, you do kind of gain a deeper appreciation. God knows, like 10 years ago, I would have handled all of this way worse.
I just say I would have handled it the same, because I've always been awesome.
I think to be truthful, you might not have done 10 years ago, because you wouldn't have been able to go to a gym. Like we got you equipment, we hired you equipment. You wouldn't have been able to do any of that 10 years ago.
I'd have just lifted up stuff. Or imaginary weights. The weight isn't important, Pamela.
It's the mind.
Mind.
Is it?
I'd train my mind. Yeah. Even though it doesn't need any kind of training, I would train it.
Mm.
Is this leading down to there is no spoon type conversation?
There is no spoon.
There is no weight.
Why would anyone even want a spoon? Spoons are actually pretty crap when you think about it.
Totally random side tangent and a little bit of insight knowledge of how Armando's had a lasting effect on my day-to-day being. Years and years ago, he told me, don't eat stuff with a big spoon, eat it with a little spoon and it'll taste so much better. And I thought at the time, you're absolutely insane. There is no difference whatsoever. And since then, I have never used like a tablespoon to eat soup, cereal or anything. It's always a teaspoon.
And how much better is it?
It's amazing. It sounds absolutely mad. And some people listening might be thinking, oh, whatever, try it. It's life-changing.
Oh, yeah, it is life-changing.
Do you not think it's just a metaphor that you're still a baby and need to be fed with a baby spoon?
How much do babies enjoy eating? How much do babies enjoy being fed?
You're being fed by other people.
You're talking about all this normality and jobs and stuff. Normality is eating with a spoon that you're given. No, I don't want that spoon. Get me a baby spoon. And you know something, come and stand by my table and make flying noises while you feed me with it.
Do you know what? Weirdly enough, there may be some kind of psychology behind that, though. If you think about it, like having a small spoon maybe does trigger a sort of memory of childhood and eating as a child, and
let's not get too deep. It makes the food.
No, I'm telling you, there may be something in there.
Why do you two have to spoil it and go so big? Just enjoy it because it's awesome. Doesn't need to have a reason.
Yeah.
It's just awesome.
If I eat my crunchy nut cornflakes, I want them on a big giant spoon so I can get as many out of the milk as quickly as possible, so they're
Nah.
still crunchy when I eat them.
You're done soon, and then you're looking at mine, and there's still half left, and I'm like, get stuck.
Yeah, but yours go soggy
You don't have
because
a
you're
mind.
only eating them with
No,
a
it doesn't.
little spoon.
It's all in your mind. Sogginess is in the mind. Have you not heard that?
And you're the one saying you don't want us to go too deep.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about sogginess being a mental construct.
Sogginess is a mental condition.
You don't get very deep with sogginess, do you, sweetheart?
You don't?
Nope.
No, it's just there.
It's just there. Honestly, mine never goes soggy. I could leave it days and it won't go soggy.
What are we talking about now?
The series.
I have no idea. I have no idea. Any train of thought that was on the track has just been derailed completely. All right, guys. I have got a list of 29 different random topics, and I've been doing this with other guests recently. We can do one each, but you both chime in on it, but you both get to pick a number if you fancy doing that. So, yeah, 1 to 29. Mando, do you want to pick a number first?
I'll let Pamela go first.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, how about I pick Amanda's number and he has to talk about it?
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Okay.
All right, yeah, we'll do it that way.
I pick number 8.
Number 8 is Bigfoot. Do you believe there is a Bigfoot out there roaming around, or has been?
I'd go along the lines of, why not? Like, as in, not that. I mean, if it was potentially in my back garden, then I'd be upset.
Right.
However,
why? Just because it's like an invasion of privacy?
Well, if Bigfoot was in my back garden, then I'd potentially be quite scared, unless he was the Bigfoot out of Harry and the Hendersons, in which case I'd be really happy, because he was...
I don't know, because even that one was kind of scary at times.
Scary as hell, but at the same time, that's just because he was ugly and odd-looking. But you can't judge him on that, Malcolm. That's not fair.
You can't judge Bigfoot on his
judge
appearance.
Bigfoot if he's an 8-foot, good-looking bear man thing.
With like chiseled looks, a distinguished jawline.
Exactly. I'd say that I don't necessarily believe in Bigfoot, but I don't necessarily not believe in Bigfoot. Like, right. It could exist. It could quite easily exist. I have no proof that he does, unsurprisingly, looking at the man. But at the same time,
so you mean you haven't had any sightings?
But at the same time, there could be something that looks like Bigfoot. It could just be an odd human that was thrown away as a baby and it's turned into that.
See, I laugh, but I think that's probably more on the accurate lines. I think if there is...
There's that episode of X-Files where they have those Neanderthals that live in... I can't remember where it is, but... And they're not like Bigfoot because they're not that big, but they're just like humans that live out in the wild and stuff, and you could just have a really tall, gangly, scary-looking one of them. And it could exist. What? Yeah, why not? Why not? I believe in Bigfoot.
All right, so you're going to go on record and say you do...
Yeah, I've changed my mind.
You convinced yourself that he's out there somewhere.
I'm a big believer in Bigfoot, and I believe that Bigfoot could have whatever he wanted. Could have a bungalow.
The sky's the limit for Bigfoot. That's what you're saying.
Could have a cabin in the woods and he just wants to be left alone.
It could very well do.
I think the main thing that we're gathering here is that people limit Bigfoot.
Right, to just being...
People think that Bigfoot's probably just a big, stupid, dead Neanderthal-type man-bear thing that wanders the woods.
Why do you keep saying man-bear?
Well, how else would you describe
I don't know, but man-bear just makes me...
Why not?
Just makes me think of a guy...
Yes, I'm not refer to him as Bigfoot in America. I'm just going to refer to him as man-bear. Mm. So everyone just thinks that man-bear is just this big, lumbering idiot thing that just probably eats animals and stuff.
Hang on.
It doesn't mean he's not got feelings.
Are you rebranding him as Man-Bear now? He's no longer Bigfoot.
I think I'm rebranding himself as Man-Bear.
I think Man-Bear should give him more of a chance. I think we've been cruel to Man-Bear, and I understand entirely why he isolates himself like he does.
What about you, Pamela? Do you believe in Bigfoot?
No. I believe that humans feel a need sometimes to believe in something bigger than themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And Bigfoot sometimes fits the bill.
Is that your thought on all cryptids, not just like Bigfoot, but like any sort of...
Don't believe in Loch Ness Monster, don't believe in Bigfoot, or what is it?
Sasquatch.
What's the one from Mexico called? The something devil thing?
Chupacabra.
Chupacabra, that's it. No, I think there are always explainable reasons for everything in line with animal attacks anyway. But yeah, I know, I think there's always an explainable reason for those things.
Do you think it kind of goes back to sort of just like folklore, like just people telling stories, just like campfire stories?
Yeah, I think it's
graduated.
Urban legends, total folklore. It's funny, there's something been popping up on Instagram or Reddit recently that says, why are all the ghosts from the 1700s? Why isn't there any like 2007 Britney Spears type ghosts kicking your ass type thing? And it's
Britney Spears isn't dead. She couldn't be a ghost.
No, you know what I mean? Like, but why isn't there like angst-ridden teenagers / 20-somethings from 2007 come back?
Maybe it takes a while for a ghost to mature.
So yeah, no, don't believe in anything.
All right. Oh, that's fair enough. All right, so then it's Mando's turn to pick a number from the random list for Pamela. So what you got? You got between
18.
You got 18. If you could live in a different time period, what time period would you live in?
This is a really good one because when me and Mando were dating, we went to the cinema and watched Midnight in Paris. Have you seen it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Woody Allen
film. It's so good, isn't it?
It
and he obviously wants to be in 1920s Paris, and then he falls in love with a girl, and she wants to be in Belle Epoque Paris, and it's a whole thing of like how far back do you go to find the
whole thing is that everybody always wants to live in a different time whenever they're born, because they always think it was better at a different time.
Greener.
Right.
But in reality, it never really turns out to be that way.
I'm a little stumbled by the fact that Armando admitted a Woody Allen film is great. That kind of threw me.
Probably the only one, to be fair. But yeah,
the thing is, you were only dating at the time, and I said to him, "There's this movie I really, really, really want to watch," and we went to watch it. So you're probably going to watch it to keep me happy. But it's a good film, isn't it?
It's a great movie. It is
a brilliant film.
It just happens to be made by Woody Allen. That's all.
Woody Allen.
Are they the same person? Weren't they both in Cheers?
No, they weren't. So is that the time period that you would say, if you had the chance to, you would?
No, we're just talking about the movie, Malcolm. It depends. Like right now, I'm obsessed with Hamilton. So part of me's like, I'd love to live during the American Revolution.
Oh God, I can't imagine much worse. Especially if they did just sing all the time.
As long as they didn't die.
I don't know. I think if they sang all the time, I think I'd be all right with dying.
But how do you pick, Malcolm? How do you pick? Like the pyramids in like, if you believe the biblical story of a worldwide flood, then the pyramids in Egypt predated the flood. Therefore, there was Egyptians in Egypt building pyramids before the flood. So do I want to live in that society or the society post that still built pyramids? Honestly, it's fascinating.
It would depend what role you had in said time, because most times before this, in any normal role, it would be bloody awful.
Right.
You were of reasonably
you don't know it's
affluent.
awful. You don't know it's awful. Like
well,
right now we have running toilets.
People.
No, but now we have running toilets.
Caveman. I'd like being a caveman.
Yeah, but they don't know any different because they're just cavemen.
Exactly.
They don't know any different. They have no other.
When I had to worry about anything, I would have just gone and smashed stuff up and
and you
kill stuff and eating it. That's what I'm doing. I'm saying that's what I'd be.
Yeah, you'd loved it.
Yep, it would have been nice and simple. And if someone bigger and harder came and smashed you into pieces, then that'd be it.
Wow.
And why not? Let's just pretend there were dinosaurs there as well. Why not? You might have got eaten by a dinosaur. Let's just go with that.
Right.
What better way to go?
So you're going caveman period.
Why not? Why not go caveman? And
because there's so many reasons not to. Because of the lack of inventions that we have now.
You kidding me? They invented the wheel.
The wheel. So you're quite happy with the wheel and fire, and that's it.
Well, where would we have got without the wheel and fire and tools? You tell me where we would have got without those.
This is true, but how enjoyable of an existence is that?
I think it would have been enjoyable because it would have been that simple. I'm going to roll my wheel down the hill. I'm going to make a fire when I get there to keep myself warm.
And then smash things.
and then I might use my rock that I stuck to a stick somehow to smash up the food that I just killed.
And that's it. That's you happy.
Okay, if you get a
What could you
choice,
want?
I picked being born when I was born.
So I'm not entirely sure how much of Pamela's answer actually picked up there, because the audio was getting a little bit faint and a little bit glitchy, which is the main reason that I've just cut the question and the conversation off at this point. So yeah, I don't know how much you caught of that, but her answer to the question was that she would be born at the time that she was actually born at, and if given the choice, wouldn't actually live through a different time period, which, fair enough. Actually, I mean, if you were to ask 100 people that exact same question, I imagine there'd be quite a few would come back with that same answer. That they would live through the time period they've lived through before. I mean, there's one thing between visiting different time periods, but living your life through a time period and sort of adhering to all the rules and the scenarios and circumstances and all the parameters that were set then. Yeah, very different. So I imagine out of the hypothetical 100, you'd get quite a few that would give the same answer as Pamela. I can't say that you'd get that many giving the same answer as Armando, though, because honestly, really, who by choice would actually want to go back and live through the caveman period? Unless, I'm completely wrong and there is just a huge group of people out there desperately hankering for such a scaled back life, for a more primitive existence of just fire, cave, wheel, stone and stick. Maybe there is. I don't know. Anyway, we're about to slide into the final section of this episode where we are talking about traditions. It was my chance to pull something from the list, considering they'd both picked something for each other, and I pulled up the topic of traditions. So that's where we're jumping into right now. Now, I mean this in a general sense. This can be like traditions that you do each year at certain times, or it can just be like traditions you do each day. Even if you do them, that's the thing. I'm not personally keen on traditions too much. Some are quite nice. Some I understand why people do them, but it's just, for me, it's not really a thing I care that much about.
Yeah.
But what about you guys? Is there any traditions in particular that you do at certain times?
I'd say like anything in life, I do what I want to do. If it happens to be a tradition, I'll just see it as an idea of something that I can do if I want. I don't feel like I have to, but it's just almost like the world's suggestion of, oh, this is what a lot of people do. Do you like it? You don't have to, but it just means that you can pick and choose the ones that you enjoy. You don't have to do them to the degree that everyone does them. You can do them entirely by yourself, but it's just like, I suppose, the world's suggestion, like when you're on things like the internet, it'll suggest, oh, you've looked at these pages, you might like this. Well, it's kind of like that, but in a different way.
Like an internet algorithm for life.
Yeah. We have Christmases and birthdays and Halloween. They're probably the bigger ones, and I like doing them to some scale. I don't do them because I'm forced to, but I do them because I enjoy them.
Yeah, that's a big fundamental difference. Some people are very much in that camp. Some people just feel like they have to because that's what you do at this time.
If I felt like I had to, then I wouldn't do them.
That's the aspect I distance myself from. Is like, okay, so it's this day, which means you have to do this thing, and it's just like, no, not at all.
But if you can personally get some enjoyment out of it, then it doesn't really matter that it's a tradition. It's just something that another thing choosing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I was brought up as a Jehovah's Witness, so a lot of traditional things I don't celebrate, like birthdays and Christmas and Easter and Halloween. So for me, tradition, I like traditions, as in you make your own family traditions. So I like celebrating our wedding anniversary. I like celebrating the first day we met, things like that. Around Christmas time, I don't choose to celebrate Christmas, but at the same time, I know it's important to Armando, so I like to make things homey for him when we're doing like that time of year, so he feels like it's traditional to him. And for me, the biggest thing about traditions is not aligning with a faith or a religion or anything like that. Like, so to me, Easter and Christmas and Halloween is really pagan, so I feel very adverse to celebrating them.
Okay.
But at the same time, I love tradition. I really love tradition. So I love the feeling of, we did this last year and let's do it forevermore type thing, of building a tradition. Like if we have children, we can carry it on. So I like finding I love patterns and things. So if we can drop like the Christmas and the Halloween and the Easter, etc. But if we can find patterns like, let's have a celebration on the day we met, let's have a celebration on our wedding anniversary type thing. So as we go forward in the future, I really love to build family traditions of on this day we do this, and on this day we do this type thing. I think it goes back to, I love the patterns and things. I love the patterns and dates and matching things up, of always doing the same thing on the same day every year type thing.
Yeah, like I don't celebrate any traditions like Christmas in any religious way, because I couldn't be any less religious if I tried. But it's mainly just the things that you do on the day. Like it's nice to buy people just things that they think they like, and being together and having a meal and sitting down and relaxing all day. That's what Christmas is to me. It's just a tradition of doing a few things with your family and your wife and dogs that you like doing. You're just doing it on a day. You're kind of doing it because people suggest you should do it on that day, but you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
You just happen to do it on that day because it makes sense. It's usually some kind of holiday as well, which helps. And it's always fun to buy people gifts. So any excuse to do so, it's nice. It doesn't have to be an evil thing or a pressurized thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an excuse to do it.
I really like, and I've never heard anyone say that they celebrate the day they met. I genuinely really like that, because I think that is, you think about it, that's probably the most important date in your collective parents' history. And that's a wonderful thing to celebrate. So I like that a lot.
That's what I mean. You just find traditions yourself that make you happy. Like the thing is with things like Christmas, it helps that the environment you're in builds towards it, which makes it exciting. Mm-hmm. But that's just a side effect of it. It's not because of that. It's nice to have a build-up in which society's building up as well. It's just the way it is, because everyone gets a bit happier. It's nice because of the weather. It's just that whole kind of push towards it.
There's definitely a communal shift. You do tend to find some people can be a bit more high-strung around about that at the end of the year, around Christmas time, but you do also, whether or not you celebrate the religious aspect of it, I think there's almost like a sort of a bigger sense of communal warmth, because people are kind of moving towards that certain point.
That societal kind of push that, I don't know, it probably makes it feel special in a slightly different way as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just nice. It's just like a movement at that time of year.
I like the idea of making specific traditions, like you were saying, about like family orientated stuff. That is not so much.
That's much more important to me.
Yeah, not so much celebrated by everyone en masse, but it's sort of localized to you.
It's hard as well, because sometimes for me, I love family traditions, but sometimes if you don't tell everybody else that it's a family tradition to you,
right?
So you do something one year, and then the next year you're like, oh, let's do that again. And you're trying to organize it, and it kind of maybe doesn't work.
Uh-huh.
The fun is creating the tradition for me.
Right.
Like, if we are going to make traditions, I want them to be Armillei family traditions, not like picked up from anywhere else, or because society tells we.
No, we make them those. We make them those.
Yeah.
That's the ones that I like, though, is the ones that you kind of construct of your own doing and your own imagination, and things that have a personal resonance to you. Like one, I'll give you an example. It never really did become a tradition, but it was fun to try and get it off the ground, and it was fun to do just as a one-off. The first Christmas I spent over here, I insisted that we get a piñata and fill it with like American chocolates and stuff, and on Christmas Day just beat the shit out of it. And just break it open, and it was like going to be the Christmas piñata tradition.
Amazing.
And it was so much fun to do. It didn't take off. I may bring it back this year. Who knows?
Bring it back. It's a tradition, Malcolm. You have to.
But stuff like that, where you just kind of use your imagination and find a personal attachment and make it specifically localized. That's the kind of tradition I like.
Yeah, totally. But I want them to feel personal, like it's about us as a family, not about society in general, type thing.
Well, there you go. What about that then? What about that? The very first duo of guests on Dimed Out and the very first married couple on Dimed Out, making podcast history, at least for this show. Absolutely grateful and so thankful that they could come and sit down and talk to me about the wide range of stuff we talked about. Quite the mixed bag, I think you'll agree this week. Quite the mixed bag in this episode. Next week, however, is very specific and streamlined. Knowing that both Pamela and Armando are huge science fiction fans, I got them to come up with their favourite movie robots, specifically from film, because if you include games and literature, the list would be endless. So yeah, next week's episode is dedicated solely to movie robots, but it's really interesting because we have a list which is full of deep cuts and sort of obscure picks and things that you wouldn't necessarily think to include in a list of like great movie robots. We also have a mind map, and that map takes us on a really fascinating journey in terms of what a robot is, what defines a robot, what a robot can be, who it serves, what its purpose is, and it just opens it up to various different possibilities and trains of thought. So yeah, plenty of great stuff in terms of science fiction and human integration with technology, mankind's relationship with robotics, and our history of robotic behavior. Yeah, lots of interesting sort of pathways derived from the idea of just favorite movie robots. And as I said, some great deep cuts and obscure pulls from the lineage, the vast lineage of movie robots. So yeah, if you like your sci-fi, then that is definitely one you want to be checking out. Also, I would love to know what your favourite movie robots are as well. So yeah, plenty of good stuff to look forward to for next week, but as for now, that's about it for this episode. As always, if you've enjoyed it, and there is absolutely no reason you shouldn't have, then the best thing you can do to help and support the show is to subscribe. That way you also never miss out on any of the great content that's coming in the near future. Also, if you are already subscribed and you want to do us an extra favour, you want to do us a solid here at Dimed Out, then what you can do is give us a rating and a review on the podcast platform that you get your podcasts from. Of course, you can also tell your friends, you can also tell your mum and your nan as well if she enjoys podcasts. If she doesn't, then why not introduce her to some? I just got rid of 50 gigabytes of podcasts, which is crazy. I didn't even know I had them stored on my hard drive, but evidently I did. That is 460 podcasts, 50 gigabytes, that go back 4.5 years, which in a word is ridiculous. Hopefully Dimed Out isn't taking up that much space on your hard drive, but hopefully it is taking up that much space in your heart. And yeah, I know, but hey, it was there. I had to take it. If you, your mum, your nan, your neighbour, or whoever else you've told about the show wants to get in touch about the show, you want to give me ideas for topics, suggestions, or just general feedback, as long as it's nice, then you can get in touch via Twitter at @IamMalFoster. That is the best place to get in touch with me about the show, or about anything. Or, well, with some consideration, maybe not anything. It's good to have boundaries, right? And on that note, Dimers, that does it for this week's episode. As always, thank you for listening. Until next time, look after yourselves, look after each other, and keep it dimed out.